Hi, everyone. This is Encouragement on Fire, and I am Shirley Farrar, your hostess for today. There is a scripture, and I want to encourage you today. It is Romans 15:13, and it says, May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. I thought that it would be a great encouraging word for you today as we talk about Crohn's disease, because you need to know that there is information available to you. You need to know that you are not alone in this, and that as you are praying and you say, I need someone to help me to get through this process, we are here from this podcast. There are other organizations that are available to you. I know there's the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.org. There are so many different individuals on the internet that are available. Even we talked last week about a Facebook group that comes together and talk about food and different things. You have hope, and I don't want you to think that you are alone. So today we're going to be discussing the foods that are best for you, and we're talking about trigger foods as well, because more information is a great thing. As always, we are talking about defeating cancer, sickness, and disease, but for the month of March 2023, and this is podcast number 59, we are talking about Crohn's disease. Today, we are going to discuss trigger foods and healthy foods that are, our go-to foods, the foods that make us feel healthy no matter what we have been diagnosed with. Okay. All right. So as always, we are first going to talk about our major topic, and that is cancer. Welcome, welcome. This is Encourage Minute. And for the Encourage Minute for today, we are discussing colon cancer. The American Cancer Society has stated that 106,970 new colon cases each year. In addition to the new cases are rectal cancer, and that is 46,050. Those are pretty big numbers. And it goes without saying that there are 15 million colonoscopies that are done each and every year. So our doctors have encouraged us to get our colonoscopies. Now, the average individual gets their colonoscopy at the age of about 50. So if you're getting your colonoscopy about 50 or older, that makes sense. However, if you have a history of cancer or colon cancer, your doctor is going to recommend that you do it a lot sooner. It's unfortunate that Black individuals or Black Americans or Black, if you consider yourself an individual who is Black, you are more susceptible in getting colon cancer than anyone else. And so I encourage all of you, okay, individuals in my family, I'm going to encourage them to make sure that if they are 50 or older, that they are going to get their colonoscopy. In addition to that, if there is cancer history, now that I have had cancer, there's a history. So I'm encouraging all of my children, and I'm encouraging them to encourage their children to make sure when they get to a certain age or the doctor recommends it, that they go and get that colonoscopy. In the past 15 years, individuals that are ages 20 to 49, there are more cases. It's about an increase of about 1.5 in new cases of colon cancer in ages of individuals who are 20 to 49 years old. So that in itself, if there is a history in your family, you should be going to get it. You should go get your colonoscopy. Now, there's a reason I say you should definitely go. If you have a history in your family, right? Certain life choices that we make, And then if you're 50 or in age or above, you should be going to get your colonoscopy. There are also symptoms that you could be having and you are ignoring. I don't want you to ignore these symptoms. One of the symptoms is blood in your stool. Another symptom is that your bowels have changed. So there could be pain in your abdomen. You could have a bloated stomach and also unexpected weight loss. And when a doctor is doing the colonoscopy, they're looking for polyps or cancerous cells. So sometimes they're going to find precancerous cells in individuals, or they find polyps. Now, if they find polyps that have cancer in them or not, they're going to remove them. And then the doctor is going to suggest medications, or they're going to just suggest that they watch future polyps build up in that particular area. This is wise information for us moving forward, to make sure that if you have history in the family, you have a certain lifestyle, or if you are 50 and over, you should definitely go and get your colonoscopy, because the numbers for colon cancer and rectal cancer, they're not small. All right, so we are talking about Crohn's disease, and this is part 3 of Crohn's disease, and we are discussing trigger foods. A trigger food is anything that is unpleasant, anything that is causing you discomfort, anything out of the normal, right? So we want to make sure that we clarify what that is. And so, are you having trigger foods? Your trigger foods are going to be different than someone else's, right? So someone else could be eating something and you're like, oh my goodness, that's a trigger food. And they're like, not for me, it isn't. So just know that you're going to have to find out what your trigger foods are. And it's not everything that is on the list that the doctors suggest, but it may be majority. It could be half. It could be some. Okay. So the first thing I would say is foods high in insoluble fiber. So that means that if it's not able to dissolve in water, so those are things like seeds, right? Sunflower seeds, kale. These are things that are good for you, right? It could also be the skin of an apple. Those are things that when we have babies, what do? We take the skin off the apple, right? We bite into it. We take the little skin off of there and we give it to our babies. Not somebody else's baby, but our own baby. And then it could be also high fiber food. So I don't know about you guys, but I love Brussels sprouts. Oh my goodness. And then, cabbage and cauliflower. Oh, asparagus. I just had asparagus last night. We did a little cookout. I did eat healthy, but at the same time, I love asparagus. Oh my goodness. But actually, Brussels sprouts is a little bit more tasty to me than asparagus. And then you want to make sure that these foods, you try them out, see if they are trigger foods for you, because it's on the list. Some other trigger foods could be high lactose foods. So it could be cow's milk. It could be ice cream, right? Custard, those things, if they're trigger foods. Now, some of you could just be lactose intolerant and you can't have those foods, right? Most of the time, if you're over 30 years old, you kind of know if you're lactose intolerant. So I'm not even going to go into that. However, they are two different things. Someone who has been diagnosed with Crohn's disease, yeah, these are things that could be your trigger foods, but not necessarily. Okay, so you gotta, like I said, trial and error some of these foods. Now, also, there are foods like sugar alcohols and artificial sweeteners. So some of those things could be sorbitol, mannitol. Now, I told you guys about xylitol because I thought it was a good alternative to regular sugar if you have been diagnosed with cancer. If you haven't been diagnosed with cancer, then, you can go back to the regular sugar. However, in this particular situation, it could be something that could be a trigger for someone who has been diagnosed for Crohn's disease, okay? And also aspartame. We talked about aspartame before, but many of our foods, it's a substitute for sugar. But I want many of you to look up what aspartame is. We're not going to discuss it today. So just do your research. Some other things you want to avoid if you've been diagnosed with Crohn's disease, you want to make sure that you're not adding extra sugar. That's anybody. Even if you've been diagnosed with cancer, you don't want to keep eating sugar. Sugar is something that feeds cancer, and it's evidently a trigger for someone who's been diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Sometimes things that taste so delicious, right? We have our cookies, right? We have our honey, maple syrup. Now, in moderation, honey is good for you, but not necessarily if you're a person who's been diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Also, high fat foods. Now, I know when I say these, you're going to be like, So we have butter, we have cheesy dishes, we have fried foods, right? All those things, everybody's like, right? But they're not good for you if you have a chronic disease, okay? Now, I'm not saying that you can't have these things. What I'm saying is everything needs to be done in moderation. I have chosen to switch my butter. A friend of mine told me about switching to Irish butter. Now, if any of you know anything different, then tell me so I can switch from Irish butter to something maybe better. But they told me to do that one. And then as far as the cheesy good, you hear what I'm saying? Cheesy good dishes, maybe lessen up on a little of that cheese and maybe the right type of cheese. I won't tell you which one to buy. You need to do your research. But if you are a person who has been diagnosed with Crohn's disease, this may not be healthy for you at all because it's a trigger food. In addition to that, fried foods. Now, I don't know about you guys, but for a person who's had cancer, it is not a good thing for you. You should stay away from fried foods. However, anything in moderation, you can't say it's totally bad. So I'm saying to you, just be mindful of that as you're moving forward, becoming more of your healthy self. Spicy foods, woohoo, chili powder. Now, I put a little chili powder on my foods. I'm not going to tell you that I don't. But remember, I haven't been diagnosed with Crohn's disease. But someone who has, stay away from those hot, spicy things. And also alcohol. Alcohol, no alcohol. It's not worth it. You may have a bad reaction. Oh my goodness, caffeine. Woo! Caffeine, coffee, and tea. Now, when I had to give up coffee for a whole year when I went through my process. And I was not a happy camper. Not at all. But I did it because it was necessary. Now, I can't imagine doing it the rest of my life, but I guess if I had to, I probably would. I probably would. It might take me a while to get the hang of it, to not have it in my diet, but I did it for a whole year. And I'm telling you, I'm back to having my coffee, and I have my special blend. Everybody who knows me, have a special blend of my coffee, and I love it. Love my coffee. But anyway, so then you should also avoid sugar sweetened beverages. So we know soda's just not good for you. Now, if you have it occasionally, I understand that. But if you're a person with Crohn's disease, it's not good for you. You know, espresso drinks, anything with syrup in it, it's just not good for you. And you should avoid that. In a moment, we're going to talk about some good foods that you could think about that would be your go-to foods. And I want you, while I'm getting ready to talk about something else, I want you to think about what fruits and vegetables are your go-to fruit and your go-to vegetable, okay? Many of you see the outfits that I have been blessed with. These have been donated. I still have to give them back, but they have been donated by IamOneOfAkind.net. That's IamOneOfAkind.net. And you can go online and you can see Lady Crystal's boutique that she has and all the information where she's located. In the month of July, she's having a $25 sale. Now, anyone who has ever been to her boutique, you know, if she puts a $25 price on it, That's huge. That is huge. So I encourage all of you to go out there in the month of July and to see what she has available. Now, this particular outfit that I have on is available in addition to, see these wonderful earrings. Look at those. I believe these are like $5, you guys. $5 for these wonderful earrings. So if you are interested in any of these items that I have at a lower cost, think about it, at a lower cost than you normally would pay for them. In the month of July, every year, giveaways, where if you don't go early, there's a line outside the boutique. So I encourage you, but it's really fun because everyone's there gathering and they're just having a good time. I may be there also on a few of those weeks. We may be actually doing a live podcast, so we'll see, or maybe a taped podcast, and then I'll put it on the podcast at a later time so you can see all the fun that we had. Okay. All right. So let's get back to talking about Crohn's disease. Now, it is important though that if you've been diagnosed with chronic disease, that you take the initiative to find out what you need to eat, what you need to drink, right? What are the things that would be responsible for you to take the initiative for your own good health? Have you had an opportunity to think about your go-to food, your go-to fruit, and your go-to vegetable? If I had an opportunity to say to you, and which I do today, my go-to fruit would definitely be blueberries and bananas. Now, there was a time I was allergic to strawberries, but since I came off the chemo, I was able to eat strawberries. Go figure. So there's a couple of go-to fruits that I would do. Also, my vegetables, as I stated earlier, Brussels sprouts and asparagus. But I also like corn on the cob. Oh my goodness, string beans, all of the above are good, you guys. It's delicious. And they're all healthy for you. So they recommend that if you're going to choose some fruits, if you have been diagnosed with Crohn's disease, that it would be bananas, raspberries. Oh, raspberries are delicious. We used to have a raspberry patch in my child home town. We used to have this area called the Blacktop, and someone must have sprinkled raspberry seeds because every year it would be covered with raspberries. And we would go up there, me and my siblings, and we would pick the raspberries, wash the raspberries, very good, and we would put it on our other fruit, fruit salad, or we would put it on our ice cream. So, oh my goodness, it was just so delicious, so delicious, nice and healthy. Nice and healthy. And we used to have, I believe, homemade ice cream. So it was just wonderful. So some other items, the vegetables, they say squash, love squash, yellow, green, purple, wonderful, wonderful. Omega-3 fatty acids in there. And you can do that by salmon, tuna, mackerel, things of that nature. But also, if you are not able to get those items, make sure you're taking a supplement, right? You can also do chia seeds, flax seeds, putting those items on your low-fat Greek yogurt, right? Also, put it on your fruit salads. There's so many ways to get these items in your diet, and they're not trigger foods for you, and they're healthy. It's a healthy way of eating. Also, you want to make sure that you are getting healthy starches like potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, oatmeal. I like the brown rice, but I think white rice is fine, but I like the brown rice. Also, your leafy green vegetable, cooking them properly. If you are going through some things where your digestive system needs you to steam them to get rid of some of that bacteria, you should definitely do that. And then also, Make sure you are staying hydrated. That is key for someone who has been diagnosed with Crohn's disease, making sure you're getting enough water. You can get water in by taking water directly. Um, I think that at least over 64 ounces a day is good. I think they have a calculation online where you can, it's a percentage of your body weight. However, there are other things you can take that will make sure that you're hydrated. And one of our fruits that we have is watermelon. If you take watermelon, it will make sure you're staying hydrated. Also, let's see, making sure that you are prepping your foods. One of my sons, I watch him all the time. He preps his foods. Now, he doesn't live with us now, but he used to, and he preps his food. He was doing that when he was in college, making sure that he was going to eat healthy and not eating items that were not good for him. And I basically went back to doing some of the things I used to do for them. So when they were in school, I would either give them money for lunch or I would cook them lunch or prepare lunch when they were in like elementary, things of that nature. I remember giving my son vegetables and dipping sauce before you could buy it like that. And his teacher said, "You have everyone in the class bringing in vegetables and dipping sauce." So I thought that was wonderful. He was a trendsetter, so that was great. I started recently prepping my food when I went back to work, and I have a lunch pail. So in my lunch pail, I have my go-to fruits, my go-to vegetables. I have my prepped food from the night before. Could have been a dinner that I pre-did to make sure it was healthy, or it could be something that I created the night before. So I love Arnold's multi-grain bread, and they have these thin slices. Wonderful. And so I will make a nice salad sandwich. And when I say that, I mean it's salad in there. I have the big mushrooms in there, bell peppers in there. Um, and, I like to put I like mayonnaise over mustard. However, I'm leaning more towards being healthier. So I take a half a teaspoon of mayonnaise and I take an avocado, mix it, and I use that as a spread. There's many ways to spice up your food to give you taste, because isn't that what it's really about? Taste. And sometimes we think that we are being deprived of something. But if we would experiment with new dishes every week, something new, trying something different, so I won't have trigger foods or I won't have things that are unhealthy for me, that I have go to foods, things that are quick to prepare, and making sure I do prep meals and freeze some of those prep meals for another day when I don't have time. These are things that I think our parents raised us on, but as we got older, we moved away from them because we became so busy and life just happened. And jobs, we work, instead of 30 hours a week or 37 hours a week, you're working 45, 50 hours a week. So who has time to do all those things? But you're important. So take the time to prep your foods, especially if you've been diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Take the time to create a plan. I really believe that a plan is really necessary for any of us. If you've been diagnosed with Crohn's disease or you have another chronic disease, you know, a plan, a food plan. We have a life plan. We have a career plan, right? We should have a healthy food plan because we are what we eat. If you've been tuning in and joining us each week, or if you are new, we would love for you to donate to our podcast so we can continue to research information and to bring this information throughout our community in various ways. You see the little QR code at the bottom here. You can scan it with your phone if you're on a computer, or you can just go to HouseBreachRestoration.org and you can make a donation there, or you can go to our sponsor, which is the Meeting House. .cc. So that's themeetinghouse.cc. And right on the first page, there is a donation link, and you can just click encouragement on fire on the drop down link, and you can make a nice donation. We thank you so much in advance. We want you to call this number at 856-857-1859 and leave your information. You can just leave a first name, and you can just say what you need prayer in, so then we can pray with you. If you would like us to call you back, we could do that as well. If you have a testimony, please share your testimony. If you wanted to remain private, which a lot of individuals just want to encourage us and they wanted to stay private, that's fine too. But we want to hear from you. So again, 856-857-1859. And give us a call so then we can encourage you through your process. So thank you so much for tuning in today and just joining us on the conversation about Crohn's disease. I truly believe that the information that we talked about today can help someone out there who's listening, and maybe you have heard this information and it wasn't for you, but there's someone out there in the community that this information could truly help. And remember, I'm just passing on information that I gathered myself, but the more we talk about these chronic diseases, the more we share the information, the more valuable it becomes. Well, I'm Shirley Farrar. This has been Encouragement on Fire, and have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.